SnailTrail4x4 podcast. Hope I didn't blow your eardrums out just then, but this is an awesome off-roading podcast. So, you know what that means?
It means you messed up the intro.
No, it means that we're trying something different. Because if you like going off-roading Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, then this may or may not be the podcast for you. My name's Tyler, and this is my amazingly done professional intro. It's getting late in the day.
Yeah.
We're here at the studio today for episode 506, and I'm with my good buddy Jimmy Jett, who's wearing one of the better Cruise Moab t-shirts they've made, I think.
I think it's the best one.
Yeah. That was the COVID year.
Yeah. The year after COVID, 2021.
21, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got you running over all sorts of COVID stuff in a 40.
Yeah. I like this shirt.
I do too.
It's a good shirt too. It's soft.
Mm-hmm.
Supple. And it was actually
supple like your
yeah. It's actually screen printed, where I think the most recent one was like an iron-on.
Was that a heat transfer?
Yeah, something like
the
that.
Technical term for ironing.
Same difference, I think.
Okay. Yeah, man. We are here for Monday. Today's Monday episode, the day after Memorial Day weekend.
Well, or Memorial Day.
Oh, I guess it is Memorial Day, huh? Yeah, that's
after
true.
The weekend of Memorial Day weekend on Memorial Day.
Yeah. Hopefully you all are listening to this episode on your way home with all your kids in the car and have already gotten weird looks from your wife. So this is Monday, 506. We have some fun stuff for you guys today. We have some housekeeping stuff for you today. And do we have a winner for reviews?
I don't know if we're that far yet.
All we needed was 2.
I know.
We'll have to 2 in a week.
We'll have to check on Thursdays. Figure it out.
All right.
We need 2 more reviews, and then you may be a lucky winner of an elite membership from Onyx Off-Road and a swag pack from SnailTrail4x4.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get to 650 reviews on Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast. Yep.
Is that what they call it now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Got it.
That's what all the cool kids call it, at least.
All right.
My elite membership just expired, so I might need to steal one of these, and we're going to have to figure out something else for our 700 reviews.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Or maybe we'll just message our contact and say, turn it back on, please.
Help me. I need it. Yeah. So yeah, cool stuff. We got some reviews, giveaways for reviews. We got the Onyx Elite membership. We got some swag packs and some Yokohama tires at 750 reviews. So we're coming up about 100 reviews away from doing a full set of tires.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I'm excited for those. I know that there's a lot of other people excited out there for those. So get your reviews in. If you can find a way to leave more than one review, then you have found a way to enter more than once.
Tricky.
Dun, 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 dun.
Absolutely.
Just make sure you stay in contact with your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, or remember that username and password so that you can get back in at another date.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Another thing we've got going on this month is it still this month? When's the month
31st, right?
Is it always Memorial Day on the 31st?
I think so. May 31st is, I don't know what.
Yes, it's the 27th.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're still in May.
So we're still in May.
Sweet.
So we're still giving away a MORRFlate air hub.
Mm-hmm.
I need that music.
Da-da-da-da.
The Pornhub music.
Oh. I can't even do it.
That one. I'm gonna just insert that there. Yeah. So MORRFlate air hub is available this month for the Snail Squad giveaway. Thank you, MORRFlate.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Must be getting late in the day. He's off cue over here.
I wasn't reading the cue card. Sorry.
Yep. The MORRFlate air hub is your nonstop air up, air down, automatically system.
Mm-hmm. That's a great. Yeah, we should trademark that.
Yeah.
Can
I get royalties?
Sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Everything we've been doing at MORRFlate since initially launching the 4-tire hose kits was to try and find a way to accomplish automatic inflation and deflation. And so it's been 4 or 5 years building to the point of being able to release Air Hub.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
It's so cool.
It's pretty freaking awesome.
Just the technology in off-roading these days is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we'll go back like maybe 10 years. Like there was no, and this might be a little far from my topic, but there was no fridges or, good ways of communication.
They definitely weren't popular yet.
Yeah. Or, or like lithium secondary batteries or battery packs for, everybody ran dual battery setups.
Yep.
So, and then for tire inflation or deflation sets, and now automatic air up and air down things, the devices, objects, units, whatever they are. It's rad. I love the technology side that's coming into the off-road market.
I agree. Super nerdy stuff that I'm excited about. So, yeah, man, we have one of those to give away. How can people make sure they're entered to get one on a pre-order?
Yeah. So you get your name in on the pre-order if you win. And to do that, you have to sign up on our Snail Squad set tier or giveaway tier of a Snail Squad over on iRate 4x4. Go over there, go down to the watch list and discuss section, click on the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast, which is the first one underneath there because we are the best one.
Yep.
It's not alphabetical.
It's really not.
It goes by popularity.
Yep.
Even though Trail Chasers is number 2 and they aren't releasing podcasts anymore. But then once you get into the Snail Squad forum, the Snail Trail 4x4 forum, on the right side on a PC or down at the bottom on your mobile is your sign up options.
Yep.
Sign up there.
Cool. I like it. I like it a lot. What else do we got? Any other housekeeping?
Marlin Crawler Celebration of Life, June 1st. Yep. We ran over sort of the itinerary of the event on Thursday's episode, but more or less gates open at 11. I think ceremony starts at 1. Also, we found out that same weekend, if you're not able to make it down to the Marlin Crawler event, Moon Rocks is doing their annual cleanup.
Yep.
So you can head up to Moon Rocks. And that weekend, they're bringing in dumpsters and people are flying in or driving in from all over that area to clean up Moon Rocks after the craziness that happens out there Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
And hopefully we don't have a Banana Man this year.
Yeah. No more Banana Man out at Moon Rocks, please. Let's
anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere, please. Did you hear about the one that happened at KOH? It happened like right in front of us.
I think I did. Didn't you say it on
Chocolate Thunder
podcast?
Maybe.
I don't remember.
I was out at Chocolate Thunder and something happened and all of a sudden there was a dude on the ground and 5 or 6 people around him holding his hand.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess something blew up in his hand.
Jeez.
I don't know if it was a mortar again, but some firework blew up in his hand and like the whole back half of his hand, the pinky and everything was gone. So yeah, it's crazy. Stop doing stupid stuff. I mean, it's sometimes fun to do stupid things, but don't fuck around with fireworks, please.
Yeah. Or Sobe bottle bombs in the fire, Tyler.
I plead the fifth.
How's your chair, by the way?
Non-existent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've been thinking about getting a new one. Another one.
It's comfy.
It's an awesome chair. That's a pain in the ass to lug around. Yep. But if you're going to be out at anywhere for like 3 days or more, awesome to have.
Right. Well, and you got a whole Lance camper now you can just fill it with.
That's true.
Yep.
They're all sorts of stuff.
Good.
All right. I'm getting another one. You sold me. That's funny. Yeah. What else? I mean, this summer is going to be an interesting summer. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Have you made any commitments to events going to yet or?
Not really. I'm actually kind of holding back on a lot of events because I want to work on Samantha.
Yeah.
And if I go to an event, then that's a weekend that I'm not in the garage working.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I have obligations to get Samantha going this year.
Yes.
So I have not been signing up to a lot of events or planning on going on a lot of trips.
Okay.
I am going to try to go on Doozy Ursham with Weld's Taco.
Oh, that'll be a great trip.
If it's open.
Yeah, true.
We'll see.
When
I don't think it opened last year, did it?
I think it was only open for like a month last year, if that.
Yeah, and I don't remember when the trip is planned, but But I will probably make an appearance at Trek. I'll probably make an appearance at Rubathon.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'm not entirely sure. No major plans in the works.
Gotcha. I might be making an appearance at the Tahoma staging for Jeepers Jamboree.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Why, are you setting a booth up there or something?
We're going to be taking care of inflating everybody from Jeepers Jamboree at Tahoma staging.
I didn't know MORRFlates worked on Jeeps.
Not begrudgingly. They do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They kind of whine and whimper a little bit and get a little upset, but they do.
I also heard that the hoses transfer less PSI on a Jeep than they do on a Toyota.
That actually is true.
Okay.
Mainly because Jeep PMSs suck. They're super restrictive.
Yeah.
But no, we're going to be out there for Jeepers Jamboree out at the Tahoma staging. We're going to have 6 to 8 air up stations set up, and the 24-foot enclosed trailer.
Okay.
So
people can pull in there to air up?
Yep. They can pull in. If you have your own air up supplies, cool. If you A, don't want to get them out, or B, you just want to air up and go real quick and not have to sit around, we'll have stations out there for people to just pull into. We'll air you up and you can be on your way.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
So you're going to be using the air hub for that?
We will. We're going to have air hubs at all the stations with the regular 10.6s and hose kits, and should be a lot of fun.
That sounds rad. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a good time.
Yep.
All right.
So, yeah, we have a lot of events planned. This is a busy year for events. So I'm just curious what other stuff people are going to be out at.
Yeah.
Let's see. Shall we get over to the campfire discussion?
Let's do it.
All right. Go to grab your favorite drinks. Grab your chips and salsas. Your jalapeno salsa that burns the back of your throat. Thanks, Jimmy.
It's not all that burns the back of your throat, Tyler.
That is true. And we'll be right back with today's campfire discussion.
The 4-Wheel Underground website just got an upgrade. Come on by and check out the new functionality, new photos, and new pricing. Finally works on mobile too. Visit 4wheelunderground.com and find your new suspension today.
Welcome back, ladies and germs. Today's campfire discussion is brought to you by Jimmy Jack. Nothing?
Yeah, why?
That's your opportunity.
Hey, everybody, let me tell you about snail armor. Because you've never heard it before.
Yeah. Oh, man. No, we're going to be talking about some fun stuff today. Last week, we talked about the things that we enjoy about the Rubicon Trail.
Yes.
And we figured, let's continue that discussion with some of the other trails around here in Northern California, trails that we've been to, maybe areas that we've been to. So I think kind of on our radar to talk about eventually would be places like Fordyce, Barrett Lake, maybe Doozy Ursham after this year, later in the year you can talk about. The Shaver Lake Trail, some of the trails down there, trails up here in NorCal, Johnson Valley, Moab, Sand Hollow. So we'll get to kind of go through and throw in these episodes about places that we enjoy and what we enjoy about them. And maybe some of the things that we don't enjoy as well, if that pops up.
Yeah.
So today's discussion is going to be about Fordyce.
Fordyce.
Yep. It's a great little jaunt down along a creek. I told a Subaru owner that he should go check out Fordyce Creek Trail sometime.
Oh, no.
We'll see how that does.
We're going to get a call from our CHP officer, buddy, that works that area.
Yeah, they said some guy named Tyler told him to come check out Fordyce Creek Trail in a Subaru. Sorry, Dave. Man, do you want to quickly describe Fordyce Creek Trail? Where is it? What kind of trail is it? What's the difficulty rating look at? Like, what are some of those informational things about it?
Sure. So Fordyce Creek Trail is a trail located up here in the Sierra Nevada mountains off of Highway 80. Where the Rubicon's more or less off of Highway 50. Both Highway 80 and Highway 50 go to Tahoe, but Highway 50 goes to South Lake Tahoe and Highway 80 goes to North Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting thing because they both pop out of Sacramento, but then they sort of split in a Y. Yeah. And then they go to the opposite sides of the lake. So Fordyce Creek Trail is up in the Sierra Nevadas, up in the mountains. The trail is primarily granite rocks and boulders and some granite climbs. Not sandy, not muddy. Yeah, a gorgeous trail. It's got, you could say 3 to 5 river crossings, depending on how you want to count them.
Yep.
But usually they're not that deep, but they can definitely get deep if check dream flows. If the dam is open and the water's flowing, they will engulf your hood.
Yeah.
So you need to keep an eye on that. It crawls along a creek from down below up to Fordyce Lake, and then it turns and you pretty much drive up a mountain with some obstacles all along the way up to Meadow Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And Meadow Lake's a gorgeous, big, open area with a meadow and a lake.
Yeah. There used to be a big gold mining, huge gold mining operation there at Meadow Lake called Summit City. So if you guys are ever interested, there's some great video or pictures, old time pictures you can find on the internet of Summit City. And if you've been up to that area at Meadow Lake, it's just impressive what gold miners used to do. Right. And there's stories.
They were men.
They were the men of men, man. It's just nuts what they did. There was stories of them having to dig tunnels throughout Summit City during the wintertime. Right. Under all the snow.
Under the snow. Yeah. Because so much snow fell.
Yeah.
The way that they got around Summit City was tunnels underneath the snow.
Yes. Yeah. They're like little ants.
Kind of. Speaking of Fordyce and Meadow Lake, I saw that our good buddy Horton made it to Meadow Lake. He did. Pretty much the first people to make it into the lake here in the new season. Yep.
He's pretty much the first person every year in a 4x4. Yeah, right.
Sure.
Meadow Lake is a big snowmobile location during the wintertime. But 4x4s, Horton's usually the first one in there each time.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he made it into the lake. There still looks like about 4.5, 5 feet throughout the whole meadow at Meadow Lake. There's still quite a bit of snow up there, and it's melting quick though. Yep.
It didn't look like an easy trek in either.
No, it did not.
I saw they were cutting trees, they were clearing the way, they were winching because they were getting off camber
Side
in
hills.
funky situations. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so let's start down at the Eagle Lakes area.
Okay.
And if we can, let's talk about our highlights or high points is what I labeled the Rubicon one.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a fun play.
Okay.
On words.
Yeah.
Along the way. I mean, I wouldn't, once again, we're not talking about, oddly, we're not talking specifically about obstacles. Yeah. So they might come up because there could be a high point of the trail, but really we're talking about the trail itself and the general area. The experience of being in the Fordyce in this situation, the Fordyce area, because there's actually quite a bit to do at Fordyce. And so what are those things that we personally enjoy doing? Yeah. Maybe you guys can get some ideas for when you go up there, make a trip up to Fordyce sometime. So, Eagle Lakes, for me, I'll start it off. Sure. The first thing that kind of gets me going is coming up the freeway and watching Signal Peak come out from around that corner. Right. Is just above Blue Canyon. I don't know if you can see it before Blue Canyon. Maybe. I haven't tried to look there. I want to say it's above Blue Canyon as you're approaching Yuba Gap, maybe. Okay. You can start seeing a Signal Peak coming out from a couple corners. And I'm like, that's when I start just kind of like, ooh, getting excited, antsy. I'm getting close. Yeah. So that's where that starts for me. And then pulling off to staging area. It's just kind of staging area it's a fun little spot there because it's this point at which two trails are staging at. I was exactly going to say that, but before we go there, I really like the exit at Eagle Lakes there when you're coming from Sacramento towards Reno, because you turn off and you go underneath the freeways, but the freeways are separated a distance. Yeah. There's like cabins between the freeways below the freeway, and there's a river that's running straight down between the two freeways. Yep. It's very odd and unique, and it's kind of quaint in a way. It's kind of a cool little area, even though like you're between two freeways. Yeah. But then, so then you continue on down the road towards the staging area. And there's 2 trails to go on. You can do the Fordyce Creek Trail, or you can do what I call the hard route up Signal Peak.
Yeah, I would agree. Yep. Yeah. So there's meat right there. There's a bathroom there. It's a fairly big area. There's trailer parking there, not a ton, like there's the Rubicon. So you kind of got to be careful and be prepared to turn around or finagle your way out of the area if there's no parking for you.
Yeah, I usually try to send somebody in first, and that's just driving their vehicle, and have them radio or drive back, because it's not terribly far, to let me know if there's room for a truck and trailer.
Yep.
However, most of the time when I drive to Fordyce, I usually just drive Bobcat because it's not terribly far.
Yeah, it's pretty damn close for you. It's an hour 15, hour 20.
Yeah, hour and a half maybe.
Yeah. I think that most people going up to Fordyce with trailers are typically going up to like the Meadow Lake side.
Maybe.
Or they'll park at the Chevron.
Right.
And drive down the freeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you used to be able to camp or park at that, the lodge there at Nyack.
Cisco Grove.
Or Cisco Grove Lodge or whatever they called it.
It's a campground. It's a nicer campground for sure.
Yeah. But they don't either it's closed or they don't let you do it anymore. But we used to be able to park in their lot, and you just pay $5 day use fee and you could park there.
Yep.
And that was nice because then you kind of had somebody watching it in a way.
Yeah. It was a safe spot to put it. And they had worked with, I believe, Tahoe National Forest to cut a trail from the parking lot to the Eagle Lakes entrance. That was called $5 Trail.
$5 Trail. Yep.
Yep. So that is no longer usable. The campground sold, changed ownership, and the new owner is not very OHV friendly.
Yeah.
So they don't want OHVers in the campground anymore, which is too bad because they have not been busy at all.
I know.
And I don't even know if they are like technically opened. Yeah, right. I've seen people out there, like if I'm going up Meadow Lake Road.
Oh yeah.
Or not Meadow Lake, Rattlesnake Road. Thank you. I've seen people out at the cabins on the property, but I've never ever seen anybody there camping.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. I would be interested in buying that campground.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun to have it be an OHV kind of only campground.
Dude, it'd be awesome. I mean, it pretty much almost was an OHV only because they were so friendly to OHVers that it was the destination campground for OHVers to go to.
Right.
You can come up with side-by-sides, dirt bikes, quads, and play on Rattlesnake Road. You can come up with crawlers, stay there, go down $5 Trail, go out to Fordyce, or go up Rattlesnake Road and go play on Committee.
Yep.
And Winchell 345, come back out for the day. There was showers at the campground. So it was a great hub for OHV playing around in that area.
Right.
And then I don't know if it just wasn't profitable and they sold it, or if they wanted to retire.
Yeah.
And sold it.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Yeah. I wish I knew more about that, because that's a bummer that we lost that campground as an OHV destination. Anyways.
Signal Peak or Fordyce?
Yeah, Signal Peak or Fordyce. I love Signal Peak. I know I'm not as big of a fan of the trail itself, but I love getting on top of Signal Peak.
Yeah. I would say you should do the hard route, but once you've done the hard route, you're going to go the easy route every single time after that, because the hard route's not that difficult. But it's longer.
Yeah.
And so it's just, if you want to get to the peak of on the peak of Signal Peak, then you're just going to take the easier route because it's easy and short and you can pretty much zoom up it fairly easily. And then you're at the peak, which is a fantastic view, almost a 360 view. It can be a 360 view if you drive around on the peak.
Yep.
But looking down towards Sacramento Valley, it has an absolute great view. And then there's an old watchtower out that way, which is pretty rad. For the longest time, I was told it was a World War II bunker.
Interesting.
Watch area. And I was like, what? That's weird.
That does seem weird. What would they be watching out for?
I don't know.
Incoming bombing runs off the West Coast?
But yeah, way back in Tahoe and the Sierra Nevadas.
Yeah.
So, but what do you know what it actually is?
I do.
Okay.
It's a railroad watch station.
Yep.
So the railroad goes along Highway 80, And that was an extremely, extremely difficult area to cut the railroad into the blue granite in times when you're blasting with pickaxes and dynamite and not a whole lot else. A lot of labor intensive. So like if you go up to China Wall, have you been there?
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this area,
Yes.
China Wall. There's some really cool plaques that describe the tunnels and how they built the tunnels when they were trying to connect the railroad West Coast to East Coast.
Right.
And so that whole area is very, very difficult to create a railroad in to get over the Sierra Nevadas. And so they had to have watchtowers in that area, not just to protect their investment, but mainly because avalanches.
Okay. See, I heard it was fires.
No, avalanches.
Okay.
That whole area there was a fairly decent avalanche area. So if you're up on Signal Peak looking out across the highway, you can see the railroad on the other canyon wall.
Sure.
Every tunnel on the railroad is where an avalanche area is.
Okay.
So if you're looking, there's 5 or 6 tunnels right there. That's in plain sight. So they were there mainly for avalanche watching. And then I don't know if the Forest Service used it during the summer for fire watching too, because it's awesome fire lookout area.
Yeah.
But the main use was for the railroad. It's a railroad building,
Right.
To watch the railroad over there.
So it's easy to say that, they're watching avalanches, but if you think about that, let's take a step backwards here, right? That means pretty much probably 2, maybe 3 dudes were sitting in this little stone 2-room cabin.
Yep.
In the middle of winter.
Yep.
At the top of a mountain.
Yep.
Like, it's just crazy.
It is crazy.
And somebody would bring them food, or somebody would hike down and get food, or
nope. They hiked, drove, whatever. They got all their supplies up there in October, November, something like that.
And they survived.
And they would survive for 6 months up there with all their stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And like, if they had an emergency situation, they had telecoms. That's the poles coming up the ridge. They had telecommunications up there for emergencies, but their plan was to send 3 guys up there to live up there all winter by themselves with all their supplies. And hopefully their supplies last until the snow melts.
Sounds like the start of a movie.
Right? They had to pick 3 guys.
One of them goes crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's why they had to pick 3 guys.
Right.
Because if they had 2 guys, they would murder each other over 6 months, 7 months.
Probably.
So they had to have 3 to help even out the personalities.
Dang.
Yeah. So
that's fun. It's a really kind of cool
spot.
area. The hard route has a few fun obstacles on it, but the drive up that mountain is pretty cool too, just because you go through like a foresty area and then you go through kind of a desolate area, a meadowed side of a hill.
Yep.
And it's just it's a nice little drive, where the easy route, you're kind of in forest the whole way until you really start the ascent.
Yep.
And then once you're starting that ascent, you're driving on the side of the mountain. Like it's pretty steep at points, like right off the side of the trail.
Yeah.
But I did the easy route in the Tacoma when it was bone stock. So it's really easy to do.
Yep.
I think I bottomed out once or twice.
Okay. Yeah.
But that was, it's pretty basic.
If you have a stock 4-wheel drive, you will want lower gears. Like I wouldn't recommend going up there in a Subaru, like a higher clearance Subaru, even if you have it modified. You just want the lower gears because it's a fairly steep climb right at the end.
Yeah.
That last ascent there.
Yeah.
On the easy side too. So, it's a great trail. Awesome view. It's amazing to be up there during sundown.
Oh, I'm sure.
And sunset time.
Yep.
So really cool. If you're in the area looking for something to do in that area, try and get to the top of Signal Peak for a sunset.
Yeah.
That's a bucket list item for sure.
That's cool. All right.
So back to Fordyce.
Fordyce.
Because we're right there at the beginning of the trail with Signal Peak. So I don't know. The first thing that I kind of look forward to at Fordyce, other one on the trail, is that I get excited about is the first river crossing.
Okay. See, I like Sunrise Hill.
So coming down Sunrise Hill to the first
just
river
coming
crossing?
up onto
Okay.
Sunrise Hill, right? That it's sort of the first rocky section of the trail, and it's just like an awakening thing. It's like, I'm here, I'm on the trail. Like things are getting to the point where I have to start paying attention.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. But before that, and I don't remember if it's actually on Sunrise Hill. There's a rocky section, one rocky section in the middle of the hill. And we used to call it Driveline Hill before I think we knew it was called Sunrise Hill. I think it's the same one.
Okay.
And we called it Driveline Hill because I tried to go up that obstacle 3 times and I lost my drive shaft it's separated out of, they came apart 3 times.
Uh-huh.
And so before I think we knew what it was called, like Hustle Nuts, me and Dave and stuff called it Driveline Hill because I would always have problems with my driveline on that obstacle.
So is that's not the actual Driveline Hill then?
No.
Oh,
maybe it's named Driveline Hill because of me.
There's so there is a hill called Driveline Hill before Sunrise Hill.
Okay.
And it's the spot where there's 5 different lines through it, and there's a bypass.
Okay.
And the bypass is like partly blacktop. If you go up and around, I think.
I don't know that. I don't know the blacktop part, but maybe it is the same spot. Maybe we were calling it the right name.
But that's exactly...
Maybe Hussman knew it was called Driveline Hill. Now I was just making fun of it because I broke my driveline, or I separated my driveline there so many times.
Probably. That would be my guess. If he was the one calling it Driveline Hill and making fun of you for it, that's probably why.
Yeah.
Because it is called Driveline Hill because people typally blow U-joints in their drive shafts there.
So, I was getting so much...
But yours was separating.
I was getting so much droop at one point on my front axle that I was separating my drive shaft.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then my next birthday, Hustle Nuts actually bought me the long spline Marlin or Trail Gear version for my birthday. So I could get that fixed.
Nice.
And this was when I solid axle swapped Bobcat. So that's how long ago it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, because I know when you solid axle to Bobcat 15 years ago?
I don't know.
18?
Like 2008?
2008? Yeah. So the trail is way different now than it was then. So
the trails have moved around since then.
Yeah. I do like Driveline Hill. I think it's a fun obstacle just because there's so much variation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different routes and lines to choose from, and you can jump from one line to another line in the middle of the obstacle. It's kind of fun. But that's not the point. I don't know. That for me is not the point where I get excited about Fordyce.
Yeah.
I get excited
right before that obstacle. There's a weird sort of off camber rock that turns you off camber downhill.
Okay.
That used to be so much sketchier. Like they've done so much work to that one obstacle to make it less sketchy.
Okay.
It was bad back in the day. Yeah. And it was my worst spot on the entire trail. Like it's the spot I hated the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like Sunrise Hill just because you come out of the trees, it's warm, you're on the granite rock. And things are about to get serious. You're about to go down to the first river crossing, which is what you enjoy.
Yep.
And that hill is no joke. Both ways. It's not a difficult, or it's not an easy route.
Yeah.
Especially the backside.
Yep.
So
yeah, the backside, the waterfall part of the backside, that's the part where I come up to that and I'm like, we're going wheeling now.
That's where you get excited.
That's where I'm like, we're on Fordyce. We're going that waterfall drop right there. Yeah. So, I like that. That's a fun afternoon trip, just going in, and go to the first river crossing and then have lunch.
Yeah.
And then go back out.
Done that many times.
It's an awesome trip. You can camp on the other side of the river. There's a big camping open spot there.
Area.
And then there's also kind of a lesser well-known camping spot to the left before you cross the river.
Oh, okay.
On the rocks downstream. Was it? Yeah, it would be downstream of you.
Okay.
So there's a nice little camping spot over there. It's not that big. You can only put, I think, 2 or 3 vehicles there.
Yeah.
But there's a little spot there. Cool. The one at the river, in my opinion, is nicer.
Yeah.
But it's just more traffic if people are coming through at night.
There's a lot more traffic there, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like... One of the main things I like about Fordyce is the river crossings.
It is. It's unique for NorCal. We don't get river crossings in California.
We don't. We don't have a lot of trails that have river crossings up here. Usually we're like parallel to a river or we're driving from lake to lake to lake.
Yeah.
But we don't usually do a trail that has river crossings.
Correct.
I mean, the Rubicon has like maybe one.
I mean, it's yeah.
Right there at Buck Island is the overflow kind of creek there.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that a creek. I think that's almost just like Buck Island overflow because the dam isn't perfect.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, you could say Ellis Creek, but you're not driving through it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's the other spot that FOTR bridge.
There's but
you're driving
Rubicon
over
Springs that you're driving over.
Yep.
So,
So
Dirty Dozen, going into Dirty Dozen.
Yeah. You could, if you want to count going to a campground. Yeah. But it's not on the trail.
No, it's not.
So, I mean, that's one of the funnest things about Fordyce is these river crossings.
Yeah.
And they get, like I sort of said at the beginning, they get sketchier the faster and faster and faster the water goes.
Yeah.
So there's a website called Dream Flows, and you can search Fordyce Creek, I think, Fordyce Lake, Fordyce Creek, one of those. And
it's Fordyce Lake is the one what you want to search for because it's measuring the flow out of the dam.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can get an idea. It's a vague idea because they could change it at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a general idea of what the flow rate is.
Yep.
And I think we've always said that we don't want to go up there if it's more than 300.
That's the general consensus. Once you're over 300 coming out of the dam, especially if it's a rainy day, because if it's 300 at the dam, it's 500, 600, 700 down below. But on 300 out of the dam you're up into your engine block, getting close to your air filter.
Yeah.
There's been there was one year that was flowing 400, 450 for like a long time, beginning of the season. And people were having to cross the river holding their ECUs out their window.
Oh yeah.
So I think we had 4 or 5 hydro locked engines that year. So
yeah, there's that classic video.
Yes.
Of people at committee.
Yep.
Tethered to each other, pulling each other through. Did you know that one of the Hannah boy, Stewart,
okay,
was one of the guys in those trucks?
No shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch those now.
Yeah.
He would do that.
Yep. Totally.
Oh, that's hilarious. Fucking Stewart.
Yep. Good guy. All right. So water crossing number 1, it's easy to get to there. I mean, you have more or less Sunrise Hill is the main obstacle to get there.
Yeah.
And that's a good, easy lunch spot to get to at any point in time. It's nice because there's water there. It's cooler because the water is there. You're sort of down in a little kind of valley. It's greener there. You're just off the rocks. I don't know. It's a fun spot for sure. After that, then you really kind of traverse along the creek, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun. There's some good wheeling spots. There's some good, very small obstacles that are technical, but the whole time, or for a good chunk of it, you really are getting to view the creek going down the way, some good waterfalls to look at. And you're kind of in, I don't know, I wouldn't say a forest, but a good treed area. It's a pretty stretch for sure.
Yeah, it is. If you like rivers and High Sierra rivers and creeks, that is an awesome part of the trail. That part of the trail, it doesn't really have very many named obstacles from there. The first river crossing till Winch Hill 1.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of named obstacles, but just the trail itself is just gnarly.
Yeah.
A lot of the trail is obstacles that would be named on the Rubicon, but they're just not named because
nobody stood there during a Jeepers event.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. And so it's a rough trail. It just beats the crap out of you all day long. And that section is my least favorite section.
Okay.
Going from the first river crossing to Winch Hill 1.
Yeah.
It's pretty, but it
is.
It just wears on me over time. And granted, I haven't done it in the coilovers and the links yet. So it might be a lot better now.
Right. I really like the turnout spot and the swimming hole and to where the waterfall is right before 0.5, Winch Hill 0.5.
Yep. That's a great spot.
That's a fantastic spot too. And it's just a turn off on the trail. It's a huge turn off. You can't miss it. And it's a great swimming hole and a cool little spot. But then, when you get to 0.5, I think that's like when the fun starts.
Yeah. And yes, that's when the big rock crawling starts of Fordyce. So you got wind chill 0.5.
Yeah. Well, let's go back. Let's just say there's 5 wind chills.
Yeah.
I don't think I stated that on the intro section of Fordyce. There are 5 like designated wind chills, and they all have anchors for you to winch up because they're pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And then over the past few years, there's been now other obstacles that are called like halfway points of wind chills.
Yes.
There's definitely I know there's a 0.5 wind chill 0.5, and there's a wind chill 3.5.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any more than that, but
those are the main ones. Wind chill 3.5. That's also where Captain Morgan is.
okay. Yeah.
Let's see. There's Lana's Hill. There's Turtle Rock, I think it's called. That's down below 3, I believe. Lana's Hill is coming up, I believe, to 3.
Right. Yeah, but there's no other 0.5s.
No, correct. Yeah, there's no 0.5s, no half points. Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
0.5 and 3.5.
Right.
Yep.
Got it. So yeah, so once you get to 0.5, that's when the rock crawling starts.
Although the cistern is turning into 4.5.
Yeah, sure. Yes. That's pretty gnarly. And we'll get to that.
Yep.
But I think from there, yeah, wind chill 1, you're driving along the creek the whole way. There's some good camping spots right at the base of wind chill 1, right on the creek side area. It's just another fun little spot back in the trees.
Yep.
But yeah, wind chill 1 it's a no joke obstacle. There's a boulder field up to a wall climb that you are just crooked on the entire time.
Yep. And off, it's a big ledge, but like it's not wide enough to get a vehicle on the ledge squared up to it.
I'm sure somebody could.
It's you have to climb the wall next to it.
Yes.
So you end up climbing to get on top of the ledge. You have to climb the wall and halfway on the wall, halfway on the ledge, and fall over on the ledge almost.
Yes.
As you're coming up.
Kind of. It's a gnarly hill.
Yeah.
It's a fun, crazy climb. It's not like the wedge looks intimidating. It's difficult, but it's not like immensely difficult. I've always had problems right after that there's some just boulders in the middle of the trail where you kind of need to be, or you want to be. And that's what's always screwed me up. Yeah. And that's the place where, like they threatened to tow me off with a Jeep. Right.
Yeah.
And then Bobcat drove out of it. Yeah. That was funny.
I have never done wind chill 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've always been afraid of those rocks after the ledge with the little Toyota axles.
Okay. Yeah.
And so running the 40s on the rig, I'm like, man, if I run into that or if I get bound up on those rocks hung up somehow, I just don't want to snap my axle. So I've always gone around it.
Yeah.
And I've always done the bypass.
There is a bypass for it, which isn't an easy bypass either.
The bypass is no joke itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember the first time I did the bypass, we went up and like walked up wind chill 1, took a look at it, and we're like, yeah, let's go do the bypass. And as we're driving around the bypass, I was like, when are we hitting the bypass? They're like, we're on it. And I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah. This is wind chill 1, right? That's the bypass.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, it's a fun spot. It's great to kind of sit around and watch people.
Yes.
That's the people watching spot.
A lot of heckling happens there.
Yeah.
It's one of the little sluices of the trail. I would say that wind chill 1 and wind chill 3 are the heckling spots.
5 is 2 during Sierra Trek.
5 for Sierra Trek because it's so easy to get to. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fun spot. My favorite camping spot on the trail is Wagon Wheel.
Okay.
And I believe Wagon Wheel is just below 2 or just before 2. It's either right below or right above wind chill 2. I forget which one it is.
Got it.
No, it's below. It's definitely below.
It's below 2?
I think so.
I don't remember.
But there it's another spot. Kind of like a big swimming hole with a waterfall area.
Right.
So there's 2 of those. One of them is called Wagon Wheel because there's an old wagon wheel stuck there. And then the one is the one that you were talking about, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Wagon Wheel is after wind chill 1. And it's kind of, you come over the hill from wind chill 1 after you complete it. There's a little bit of rock crawling after that, but it's kind of smooth for the most part. But then you come down to another river crossing. And then that's where you turn off to go to Wagon Wheel, I believe.
Yeah.
And then that river crossing, if I recall, I believe that's the one that you cross the river and you get onto an island and then you get back in the river and you come on. And so it's the same river crossing. You're just got on land in an island in the middle of the river. So it's kind of hard to say like how many river crossings are there on Fordyce? Because I'm like, you're crossing the same creek a few times, but one time it's in the same spot 2 times. Yeah. It's bizarre, but it's fun. And then from there, you just drive still along the creek side. Some small, I wouldn't say ledges, but kind of granite. I would say maybe granite ledges that you go across. A lot of fun. And at this point, it's a big open granite area. Yeah. And it's a complete difference from where you came from, which was out of the creek and in the forest kind of. Now you're semi away from the creek, but you're in a big open granite flat area, which is kind of interesting. It's just a stark difference from where you came from. Yep. And then from there you get up to wind chill 2. Yep. Which it's arguably the easiest wind chill, depending on how you do it, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it's wind chill 2 it's essentially this rocky boulder field with a couple of small ledges that leads up to a really big lateral ledge almost. And you can either go around the lateral part and drive sideways across, you kind of zigzag the trail and come up this thing, squeeze on the ledge and the trees. Or you can try and climb the ledge. And that's kind of the fun part for people that are geared and have the balls to do it. Yeah. I've made it once or twice. I usually drive around it. I usually get denied and tuck my tail between my legs. Okay. And drive around it. I've never tried the ledge. I've ridden passenger up the ledge before. Okay. Which was fun. And it was interesting to see how he did it. Oh yeah. Cause we were in a very built TJ 4-linked front and rear tuned coilovers with an LQ9. Yeah. And that was the first time I had ever seen rock crawling done in such a way where he's just managing feathering the throttle in between traction and no traction. So all 4 tires are always spinning. Yeah. But he's spinning a little bit faster when he loses traction to heat him up and get them to grab. And then he'll slow him down to spin him slower when he has traction. Okay. To keep it going. I was like, I've just never seen that done before. I'm used to the Toyota method of crawling. Yeah. And he was doing it with an LQ9 and we're just working up and down the ledge with all 4 tires spinning constantly. We never went all the way back down into the hole. Yeah. It was kind of hovered there on the ledge until finally he was able to find where the traction is, going back and forth and up and down. And, it was interesting to watch him work it from the passenger seat. So, interesting. That's cool. That was fun. Wind chill 2, not my favorite spot. It's another point of interest along the trail. It's a long trail. It's a long trail. And so those having little points of interest help you keep your sanity as you're going through. Yeah. I don't know. After that, it really comes down to committee crossing, right? Yeah. For the most part, that's what I would say is the next sort of point of interest highlight of the committee crossing is an interesting area because there is a bailout point of the trail right there. Just at this point in time, the bailout point is going to be closing. That's correct. And you head up at that bailout point, you would head up to Fordyce Lake and then you would head out Rattlesnake Road, which leads to Signal Peak that we kind of talked about before. And Signal Peak and Cisco Grove. Out to Cisco Grove on Highway 80. But they're going to be doing work on the dam again. They're starting that project up again. And I forgot what the dates were, but it's coming up fairly soon for us at this time. And they're going to committee is going to be closed. So you're not going to be able to bail out at this point in the near future. They will reopen it again once the work on the dam is completed. You will be able to go out, but sometime soon, and I don't remember when it is, they're going to be closing that again. Yeah. And that's committee crossing is kind of what makes, in my opinion, Fordyce unique. Oh yeah. Because it gives you having just that one trail into the trail gives you a lot of different options and ways to run that trail. I can understand that. Yeah. You can run in a moderately geared vehicle, say a 4-door JK or on 37s, or a longer wheelbase like a mini truck on 37s, or a short wheelbase on 35s, locked front and rear with winches.
it's gonna take you a while to work through that trail.
Yeah.
So if you try and do the whole trail from Eagle Lakes to Meadow Lake in a day, you're looking at an 8 to 10 hour day.
Oh, for sure.
And so having that bailout trail at Committee Crossing makes it so you can run the first half of the trail one day, camp at Committee, and then head up the second day and come back down. Or if you're in a geared vehicle, you can head up to Meadow Lake, camp at Meadow, and then come back down. Or you can head up to Meadow, back down to Committee, camp there, and then head out Committee the next morning. Or it just adds so much more versatility to how you want to experience Fordyce.
Yeah, I completely understand. I know one time we talked about what would be the best way to run Fordyce.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does just allow you to choose at that point, like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? I've done many of times trips to Fordyce where I go up 1, 2 and out Committee.
Yep. It's a
and
great
just
day trip.
do the loop as a day trip and head home. It's fun to camp at Committee because you can choose what you want to do. You can camp at Committee, go up 3, 4, turn around, come back down, drive out Committee that same day. The next day you can hang out there multiple times. There's lots of camping in that general area. The river is running right through that area. So you have water. The water's moving pretty good. And there's not really some fantastic swimming holes there.
Not really.
But you can find a spot a little ways up the trail, a hair. There's a pretty decent spot. There's also a lot of really fun obstacles right there.
Yeah.
There's a choose your own adventure section.
Yeah.
Buggies.
Choose your own wall.
Yeah. Buggies will be out there screaming up a cliff, and, Toyota pickups with all the T cases will be putting up another ledge somewhere to the side of them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It's an interesting area. There are I almost said junk, but some historical junk from all of the mining equipment out in that general area. There's a bunch of big rusted stuff out there, which is kind of fun to look at. And if you see it, leave it, please.
Yeah.
Don't. Leave
it for other people to enjoy
it's part of the joy of the trail, checking out all this crazy mining stuff as you're wheeling up the trail.
Yeah. Yep. So for me, the draw to Fordyce is really because of Committee Crossing. And that's mainly because on the Leaf Springs and the Forerunner, I just get the shit beat out of me all day long going from Eagle Lakes just to Committee.
Yeah.
And then if you're coming in Committee and trying to go up to Meadow, that's no joke in and of them. That's the harder part of the trail.
Yeah.
And it takes just as long. It's half of the distance, I think, but it takes just as long as doing the first half of the trail.
Okay.
And so on the Forerunner, I would just get beat up. I'm like, I can't, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
Physically, I'm done.
Sure.
And so if it wasn't for Committee, I don't know if I would have a interest of doing Fordyce all the time.
Okay.
And so like now that Committee's closed because of the dam work, I'm still like, I don't know if I really want to go to Fordyce, because in order for me to enjoy Fordyce, I would want to go and camp at Meadow Lake. But getting to Meadow is 5 hours for me, 5.5 hours.
Yeah. Well, how long does it take you to go from Loon to the Springs?
From Loon to the Springs, about the same. But I mean,
it's harder wheeling on Fordyce.
It is harder wheeling. It just beats you up, right? There's no stop and resting points. There's lots of stop and resting points, but I want to camp at Meadow.
Sure.
So
yeah, I would argue with anybody and say that Fordyce is the hardest trail in Northern California.
I would agree. Yeah.
And if you know of a harder one, let me know, because I want to drive it.
There's some good stuff that Clint was telling me about. Not Cunliffe, the other Clint. Yunke. He was telling me about up in the High Lakes area.
Yeah, there's some fun trails out there.
And there's a couple waterfalls out there apparently that are trails that are not talked about at all.
Good.
And I'm like, I want to go check these out. Man.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was like, well, if the part of Committee at closing is deterring you, I say thank you. Go. Don't come.
Yeah, right.
Stay off my trail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the versatility of having Committee is really, really neat. And then, like you were saying, from Committee up the trail is the hardest part.
Yes.
Also from committee, this is more or less where you turn and you're driving up a mountain.
Mhm.
And you're leaving the creek behind and the water behind until you get to Meadow Lake.
Yep.
So it's from there, it's some serious rock climbing.
Yep.
Crawling, excuse me. And yeah, it's no joke. Wind chill 3, it's been talked about many times, seen in many videos on Instagram and YouTube. There's 2-3 ways to go up that obstacle from the bowl as the hardest part, the bypass, which is hairy on it by itself, or you can try to climb up the wall.
Yeah.
And so I've nosed up the wall, and then I've had people say like, why don't you just winch from there? You're already like halfway up.
Yeah.
And I think I might do that next time.
Just winch up the wall.
Well, I can get my tires onto the top.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
But I can't get up.
Ah, okay.
Right? I can't. That's my problem is I just can't get it up.
Okay.
And so
sounds like a problem for you, Jimmy.
Yeah. Let me tell you about old age, Tyler. But if I'm just sort of loosely hanging on the top, I might as well winch the rest of the way.
Yeah. Now that you have a winch on there, you
now
can.
that I have a winch. Thanks, super winch.
Yeah. I don't know. Looking at that wall. So like when people talk, when people who've been around the Fordyce Trail for a long time, they talk about wind chill 3.
Yeah.
There's wind chill 3, which they usually mean as the box.
Yes.
Right. And then they say the bypass, which people who haven't been around as long, for like me, I think of the bypass as the center line that they just blasted recently. Right.
Yes.
But people who've been around the trail a long time think of when you say bypass, that's the wall.
Yeah.
That was the original bypass for the box.
Yes.
And then that all got dug out and now it's the wall.
Yeah.
So, and then they blasted the center bypass because another bypass was forming off in the bushes and the shrubbery, which they wanted to shut down. So
one trek, they took us up that.
Really? The side one over there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the way that they were taking everybody up.
Interesting.
Before they blasted the center section.
Okay.
Yeah. And they blasted it to make it easier because Fordyce has a goal of a Jeep JK on 35s. Two-door JK 35s, locked front and rear, needs to struggle to get up the trail.
Yep.
And that's their goal.
Yep. So that's roughly equivalent to a 4-door on 37s.
Sure.
So would need to struggle to get up the trail.
Yeah.
And that's kind of their goal for what they're trying to achieve. Yeah. And I think they've done a good job at it.
I think they're doing a great job. It's definitely a difficult trail.
Yes. So I know, it's people have trouble even at Sierra Trek when they've got all the help in the world at the wind chills.
Yeah.
People are struggling, man. That's wind chill 3. Before wind chill 3, you've got Turtle Rock, which is just a big rock that you kind of have to pivot around. And a lot of people end up kind of getting stuck and high centered on it and turtled, which is always fun.
Where's the root section? That's just
is that the driveway?
I don't know what it is.
I forget what it's called. You kind of have to, there's 2 options, right? One is a bunch of roots. The other one is just a big granite slab.
Yeah.
And you kind of, no matter which way you go, you have to use momentum.
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay. I've heard of that. I think I've heard of that as called the driveway.
Oh.
But I want to say it could have been something else.
Yeah. That section's difficult too.
That's difficult. That's further down. I want to say that's below Lana's.
Okay.
That's before you start climbing up the hill.
Got it.
Out of the canyon.
Okay. Well, anyways, what's nice? A nice thing about wind chill 3 is it's shaded.
Yes.
It's in the trees. You're back in the trees.
Yep.
It's a shaded area. It definitely gets hot. Would be a south facing ish wall, maybe southwest facing wall. But yeah, you're in the trees. So it's actually really nice and comfortable back in that area. A lot of people camp there. It's the rowdy spot on the trail. It's fun, just to get to that point, park at the bottom and walk up and just watch people drive through the bowl.
Yep.
It's a good time. Always at wind chill 3. It's a crazy time.
Yep.
From there, you're in the trees almost until you get
wind chill
out
5.
of 4.
Yeah.
I would say 4. You pop out of the trees. Well, 4 you pop out of the trees, but then you drive back into the trees.
Yeah.
At the the cistern.
Yeah.
And then you pop back out of the trees, and then
That's
you
true.
drop back into the trees.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But from there, the trails, it doesn't get any easier by any means, but it is kind of wooded, and you're in the forest again. You kind of get near the top of the mountain in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely a pretty sight. You start getting up into the mountains. You start being able to look out at the scenery. You
The
start
canyon,
getting, the canyon,
yeah.
where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, I agree. And 4 is probably my favorite wind chill there.
Okay.
Just because it's this tight, narrow spot. There's not a whole lot of room for maneuverability, so you don't have a whole lot of options, and you kind of have to get creative if you just can't get through there, because there's no bypasses for 4.
No bypass.
You cannot create a bypass either for 4. You're in the middle. It's kind of like being in Old Sluice on the Rubicon.
Yeah, you're kind of a cliff and a rock wall.
Yeah, exactly. So there's not options. You have to be able to work your way through it. And that's what I kind of like about it.
Okay.
So you kind of have to figure things out.
Yeah.
And make it work.
Right.
And so, yeah, wind chill 4 is probably my favorite wind chill. It was tore up last year at Sierra Trek. Yeah, it was the worst wind chill last year. But the Forest Service went in with the Spider and blasted parts of 4 and moved some of the really big rocks around.
Oh, interesting.
To make it so it wasn't getting torn up and wasn't a safety hazard.
Okay.
So I'm really curious to see what it looks like now.
Yeah, I am as well.
I haven't heard a whole lot of reports or information as to how it turned out.
Okay.
So,
well, nobody's probably seen it since it snowed either.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I remember I think it was last year, it might've been 2 years ago at Trek. I went night wheeling with, Senior Verde and the Buns and, I think the other Clint.
Okay.
We all went down the trail. And that's when they were like, okay, yeah, Bobcat's pretty good. Like you're keeping up with us, you know?
Yeah.
And I went up like at night, I went up 4,
Yeah.
you know, and just driving the trail.
Yep.
So then on Sunday, I helped Samurai James with the river run.
Saturday.
On Saturday, I helped Samurai James with the river run.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah. And I was put somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I was matched up with some other rigs that were sort of close to what I was, where, cause there was like a lot of buggies, and then there was some sort of, like more stock JKs and me, you know? And so they put me with the more stock JKs.
Okay.
But I was going up 4, and the guys working the trail kept going, turn passenger, turn passenger, turn passenger, you know, just yelling at me. You know, and I didn't listen to him.
Yeah.
I just went and I drove up and drove over the one V'd ledge right there.
Yeah.
And he's like, or you could go that way. That works too. And I was like, I did this last night.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're on an event, you know, you don't always have to listen to them.
No. And
they know the easy route.
They know the easy route. And they're supposed to, the kind of the rule, and I don't know if they talk about this in the driver meetings at Sierra Treks, but if you have your headlights on, that means you want help.
Okay.
If you have your headlights off, that means they're not supposed to help you until you end up in a really shitty situation.
Sure.
Or until if they're just like, we just need to get people through here. Like
That's
there's already a big holdup.
Yeah. Cause we had like 2 rigs broken right at the bottom of 4. And so it was kind of a like,
get everyone through.
Because as soon as we got through, everybody behind us was going to dinner. Right.
Yeah.
It was like, we're getting you guys through.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was fun. That was a funny time. I remember.
Yeah.
The next kind of point of interest though, up the trail is, the cistern.
Yeah.
I would say it's a really kind of interesting area. There's a lot of leftover mining equipment there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of mining equipment there. There's a little spot to kind of pull off and park and kind of take a look at it all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a pretty gnarly obstacle there as well. It's this lateral ledge in a very narrow spot of the trail. So, I mean, you can't really square up to the ledge,
right? Because
it's too narrow. So you kind of have to drive straight down this lateral ledge. And it puts you at a funky angle.
It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a fun little spot there. I enjoy the cistern area every time going through it. I always, for some reason, going down, I don't want to say I panic, but I'm worried.
I freak out going down, and when I go up, I go, it ain't that bad.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I do the same line going up. I'm looking like as I'm approaching it, I'm like, I'm just going to drive straight.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I don't know what it is about going down and taking the same line going down. It just looks like you're going to roll over into the wall.
Yeah.
But you don't.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know what it is about going down, but I'm glad you freak out as well.
Do.
Okay.
I do every time. I go, man, I hate this spot.
Yeah. Yes.
I always think like I think it would be easier to go around, but then I look at the boulders over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it'd be that much easier.
No.
I did this last time. I should be able to do it again. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah.
Now you.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting with the wider axles.
Yeah.
Now. I haven't gone down there with the wider axles.
You're gonna be one side high, one side low, all off camber in the middle of that thing, twisted up, and then I'm gonna say stop. I want a photo.
I need some pictures. Yeah. I don't know. I might have to climb the rock on the driver's side.
You might.
Which is that drops you off the passenger side on that lateral ledge.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully the wide axles work, or I'm gonna have to go down and climb the wall. Once I'm down,
you're talking about going down
and climb the wall on the passenger side and coming up.
I've seen somebody do that.
That just seems like I'm going to snap.
You
everything.
get halfway through there and you're like teeter-tottering on front driver or rear passenger. You know, you're like ding, ding, ding until you get far enough away. Yeah. I hope I'm there when you go through that section next time. I really want to see how it goes.
I don't know, man. It'll be interesting. I do have a tighter turn radius now. So going straight down the lateral ledge up in the parking area, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And kind of doing a 5-point turn up there and then coming down might be the option, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think you have so much flex with that 4-wheel underground suspension. You could just drive straight crookedly off that ledge and you'll be fine.
I think going straight crooked off the ledge is fine. I just worry about being too wide.
Yeah.
That's my concern. I think the suspension will handle. Suspension's freaking, I'm so impressed with the amount of travel on that thing. But yeah, squeezing through that narrow spot is what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
Popping another tire.
But it is fun to stop there. It is fun to walk around the cistern, see all the rusted stuff, see how it's collapsed over the bunch of the years from all the snowfall and everything. It's insane because it still looks pretty intact, but then you get up to it and you're like, like you drive up and you're like, oh, that thing doesn't have a roof. And then you get up there and you go, oh, the roof has just been pushed down into it quite a ways. And you're like, dang, that's crazy. What did that? And then the only thing that could have done it is snow over 100 years, which is pretty wild. So that's a fun little spot right there. And then it's up to 5 through the trees. And then 5 is a fun little obstacle. You got an S curve through it, or you can try to drive straight up, which is always fun. Then right after 5, there's a mine.
Yeah, that's cool to drive through and kind of look down the hole.
Don't drive through it. But yeah, you can drive around it, please. But it's literally a hole like on the side of the trail.
Yeah.
Like goes like, if you're not paying attention, you're going into the mine. You're falling down into the mine.
Yeah, you can kind of see the mine as you're coming down the trail, but if you're heading from Meadow Lake to Winch Hill 5, you kind of come around this corner and rise. Yeah. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to go straight into the hole instead of going around it.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I've never been down it. I've never like really even paid that much attention and looked at it, but it's pretty neat. I mean, that's right there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I know that there's a bunch of other mines up there.
There's a lot
as well. I have not explored any of them.
Okay. There's a few back in the spot where all the, I want to call them murals. They're not murals. What are those? The drawing petroglyphs, where all the petroglyphs are. There's a couple spots back there where mines are. You can see the remnants of old mining rock cabins, like the foundations of the rock cabins and rock retaining walls back in that area. So that's all really cool. There's the view once you're on the top of 5 looking out over the canyon. Yeah. And you just kind of look over it and you're like, that was kind of cool. Came up this whole canyon here.
That's where I was. Yep. Here's where I am.
Yep. That And then really getting up to Meadow is pretty straightforward. It's a fire road with some baseball sized rocks. And you get out to Meadow and there's a lot of stuff to do around Meadow.
There's a whole bunch of stuff, history wise and just recreation wise to do around Meadow. Not any rock climbing. Well, maybe rock climbing.
Yeah.
But not any rock crawling really to do around there. But, you can hang out in the meadow. You can go swimming in the lake. It's a wonderful temperature typically year round, except in winter. But the rest of the time, it's really nice.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a whole bunch of historic mining heritage up in that area with an old brothel down the hill and a lot of mining equipment and old foundations everywhere. And it's
a really graveyard you can go check out. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. Graveyard. A lot of hiking in that area.
Petroglyphs to see if you're into finding old ancient petroglyphs.
Yeah.
So that's always a fun time. Find a fun hike around to discover them all.
Yeah.
Couple of old mining sinkholes that are there around. You can see the remnants of where mines have collapsed, and there's like little sinkholes around the areas.
Yep.
It's fun to just kind of hike around and check everything out. Lots of different camping options. You can camp right on the lake. You can camp in the meadow. You can camp up the lake further towards like on the other side of the dam. Pretty much, there's a lot of really cool camping areas. Shaded, not shaded, whatever you're looking for, it's available there at Meadow.
A lot of space up there. A lot of fun. A lot of I would say fantastic side-by-side trails out there, fire roads everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really kind of cool.
Yep. To me, that's where, if I'm going to be staying overnight on the trail, that's where I want to do it at.
Okay.
Technically not on the trail, but that's what I would want to do, is go up to Meadow and spend the night or the weekend. The cool thing about Meadow is you can get a truck and trailer in there.
Yes.
So it's very doable to trailer your vehicle into Meadow and then set up camp and have that be a base camp area. And then you've got all these activities to do for a long weekend, 3-4 day weekend. Hiking, swimming, bring paddle boards and kayaks, go out on a meadow. You can go fishing in Meadow Lake. There's other fishing areas. There's the hiking, the side-by-sides, all the Forest Service roads. You can go up to Lacey Peak.
Yep.
Morning drive to watch the sunrise up on top of Lacey Peak is always a fun thing. And then, of course, all the four-wheeling down and rock crawling on Fordyce Creek Trail. So Meadow is a fantastic base camp area.
Yeah.
So,
it's not the easiest to get to.
No. And it takes a while to get to it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I would say 2 hours from 89.
That's what from 89. Yeah. I was thinking 2 to 2.5 from Chucky. So that's about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're leaving
2.5. Yeah. Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You're driving on roads for a while, but then all of a sudden it turns to graded fire road of like a graded road, not paved. And then it turns to a fire road with bumps. And so if you're towing a trailer, you're going slow.
Yeah.
Like if you're not towing a trailer, you could probably get out in like to 89 in an hour and a half.
To 89. So I think of it as, there's that paved road that goes from 89 to Meadow Lake Road.
Yes.
And so that one, I just aired down when I get to Meadow Lake Road. And then I can get from that into Meadow Lake in 15-20 minutes if I'm driving the 4Runner. No trailer.
15-20?
Yeah, 15-20 minutes in the 4Runner.
Wow.
Okay. You just air down, then you bomb through, and hopefully you've got good brakes for oncoming traffic.
Yeah. You're flying.
Yeah. And then that paved road takes another 20-30 minutes to get from there out to 89. But if you're towing a trailer, it takes a good hour and 15 almost for that dirt road section.
From Jackson Meadow Road.
Yes. Thank you. Yep. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an easy trek. So, I mean, you got multiple hours coming up the trail, or you've got a few hours from when you turn on Meadow Lake Road from Jackson Meadows Road. Yeah. So, and then that's, that's about an hour outside of Truckee. So it's a good stretch for sure. Yeah. So it's not the easiest lake to get to.
Yeah.
But if you're going up in like a Tacoma,
Mhm.
it's not that bad.
No. Yeah. And you don't have to go up to Meadow just to do Fordyce Lake or Fordyce Creek. Like there's a ton of stuff to do up at Meadow. So just go up in your stock 4-wheel drive and go overlanding.
Yep.
I think Meadow Lake is an amazing overlanding destination.
Yeah.
Just please, if it becomes more popular for people to go up there, take your trash with you.
Yes.
Clean up after yourself.
And there are bears.
There are bears. Be very aware of that. Yeah.
So don't be an idiot and leave your trash out.
Uh-huh.
There are bears. Hang them up in a tree. There's no bear lockers.
No.
Either. No,
Yes,
there are.
is. I threw it behind one.
Tyler's throwing up. And there is like a designated campground.
Yeah.
And then there's the undesignated camping areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a gorgeous meadow up there.
Mhm.
It's fantastic. So from there you can wheel out, like we sort of were saying, you could drive Meadow Lake Road to Jackson's Meadow Road down to Truckee or whatever way you want to go from there. Or you could turn around and drive the trail back out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both are fun options.
Yep. Yeah, I think my two favorite ways to do the trail is to go up to Meadow and set up base camp at Meadow and then go down 543, maybe 21, and then back up to Meadow and do that a couple times or different iterations of that. If I'm not camping overnight, I like to come in Eagle Lakes and go out Committee and just do the loop and then have be a day trip kind of thing.
I like that.
So,
I also like camping in or around Committee because a good trek is, wheel into Committee, hang out, relax, because it's not, that's a matter of hours till you get there. And then next day you can go up to just 3. You can go up to 4, but even if you just go to 3, play around on 3, come back down. It's a good little stretch between Committee and Winch Hill 3.
So when I first had done that section of the trail through 4 and 5, I thought that 3 was a lot closer to Committee Crossing.
No, yeah.
But it's like there's as much trail between Committee and 3 as there is between 3, 4, and 5.
Probably, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. From Committee to 3, you're saying that is roughly equal to 3, 4, 5 to Meadow.
I think
5.
Winch Hill 3 is about the halfway point between Committee and Meadow Lake.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of trail between Committee and 3.
Mm-hmm. And I never realized there was that much trail. And I was like, I kept waiting for Committee to pop up. And I'm like, what? We're not there yet? Not there yet? Not half an hour, 45 minutes later, we're not there yet? What the heck?
Yeah. And so I think wheeling in, staying at Committee, then wheeling up to 3 and coming back down. And then maybe the next day wheeling out Committee or down to 2 and 1 and back to Eagle Lakes. I think that's a fun trip too.
Yeah. I think there's so many different ways to do Fordyce and a lot to see and a lot to do, lots of points of interest.
Yes. Tons of heritage in that area as well.
Yeah. If you're into gold mining history, that's the place to go.
Yeah. We talked a lot about, on the last Monday's episode about how there's a lot of heritage on the Rubicon, but it seems like there's a lot of heritage on a lot of trails now that we've been talking about this for all 2 of them.
Yeah.
But the Fordyce has a lot of really interesting highlights and high points along its trail in the mining history for sure. Yeah.
I think it'd be awesome to get, Jim Bramham.
I was literally thinking about that. Yeah.
Or our buddies Larry, Mr. Calkins, Mr. Fool's Gold, and get him on the podcast too. Yeah. Because his club was one of the kind of original clubs on Fordyce.
Oh, okay.
So he knows a lot of the history and he's been around as a lot of the obstacles have been named, like Lana's Hill and Turtle Rock.
Okay.
And Cap Morgan.
We could do obstacle history names on Fordyce episode with him. Yeah. I think Bramham would be a lot of fun to talk about.
He would be great.
Let's talk about the history of Meadow Lake.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. So a couple more podcast ideas that we're looking at. We've actually been wanting to do both of those for a while and just can't seem to get schedules to mesh with those guys. But we'll keep working on it because it would be so cool to get the history down about the Fordyce and the gold mining area of Fordyce and the history of Fordyce and how the obstacles got named, all that stuff, down into a medium to live on forever. So,
yes, I agree.
Well, cool. Any other points of interest along the way?
I don't know. I think I kind of closed out last time with talking about the general area. I think that when you're done with Fordyce, it's always fun to go down into Truckee and
love Truckee. I was going to bring Truckee up.
Okay, yeah, having a beer. I've just found Truckee Brewing Co., which was a fantastic little spot. There's also 50/50 Brewing, which is a really cool brewery that does a lot of, I would guess stouts, I think is what they probably do in bourbon barrels. They age stouts in bourbon barrels.
Okay.
And then they were that got really popular. It's called their Eclipse line.
Okay.
It got super popular. So they started buying different bourbon barrels from different companies. So you could have an Eclipse in a Jim Beam, or an Eclipse in an Old Elk, or an Eclipse in a Jameson, so that it was kind of fun. Then, we went up there one time and bought like every single bottle so that we could kind of do like, which bourbon barrel do we like better?
Yeah.
And so that was fun. Downtown Truckee's a blast. There's tons of food, tons of restaurants down there. A lot of just walking around and looking inside the shops, window shopping, and little shops all along that downtown Truckee. So it's a cool little spot to, as you get out of the trail, to go grab some food or grab a drink.
Yep. Couple of really good barbecue spots.
Yeah.
In Truckee, which is always my favorite coming off of a trail. So Sonny's Barbecue in Tahoe when coming off the Rubicon. I've got my 2 barbecue places in Truckee that I go to. I can never remember the names of them though. I just remember where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Donner Lake's not far from Truckee. Yeah. It's a good little spot to go to. It's a cool little lake. Go learn about the Donner history.
I say don't go there during the winter.
Yep. Avoid the winter. But it's just, I'm sure most everybody has heard of the Donner Party. And if you haven't, look them up. It's an interesting story to the Sierra Nevadas.
There's a couple of awesome podcasts about the Donner Party.
Okay.
So,
did the Dollop do one? It sounds like that's something they should have done.
I think they did. And it was decent. There was another one. I can't remember who did it, but I remember thinking this one's better than the Dollop.
Oh, okay.
But there's some, the whole Donner story is it's just a fucking crazy story.
It is. It really is. Yeah. We were up that way not too long ago, and we stopped by with the mini assistant and talked about it. So that was pretty fun.
There's a bypass, you guys. Go that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Famous last words. Yeah. There's a quick route over here.
And some of them didn't want to stay, so some of them left and made it to Sacramento, started a search party to go back for them.
Yeah.
And by the same time that the search party got back to the Donner Party, the survivors were packing up to head out to go to Sacramento. Yeah. And so they found each other when they were both ready to leave.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nuts.
Oh man. So yeah, it's a great story. If you guys can find some podcasts, something about the Donner Party, I highly recommend listen to them. So
yep.
Cool, man. Anything else? That does it for me. I can't think of any other good highlights or high points.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, nothing that sparks my interest. There's some really cool roads as you come down Highway 80. Some fun towns. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's some good restaurants in Colfax, some good restaurants in Newcastle. And then you're getting down into Sacramento, so it's all pretty popular there. But it's cool. I think it's a really interesting spot. Pulling off at Blue Lakes and looking at Blue Canyon.
Oh yeah.
And looking up the valley.
Okay.
And you can see Fordyce Lake.
Really? Yeah. I've never noticed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Above Bowman. So you're looking down at Bowman, but I'm pretty sure you can up the hill.
Okay.
You can see Fordyce Lake.
Nice.
And so that's always fun when I'm driving in, I look, maybe that's why you're like, I'm looking for Signal Peak. I'm like, no, over there is Fordyce Lake.
Yeah.
And so that's always a kind of a fun little thing.
Huh. Nice. Well, cool. That's our episode on Fordyce, kind of things that we look forward to from the quote unquote locals perspective. I know that there's definitely people out there that go up to Fordyce more than we do.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious. I can think of a few people off the top of my head that might call in and give some ideas of what they like about Fordyce. That's 916-345-4744. What are your favorite things about Fordyce? What do you look forward to? Because there's so much to do on that trail. And some cool things to see, I think. So let us know. And I'm looking for ideas to go play around and check out in the next couple of years.
Sweet.
So Jimmy, any final words for everybody out there to wrap up 506?
We didn't really talk about it, but committee, the exit or entrance, depending on which way you want to do it, that trail is no joke either.
No, it's not. It's a bailout. That's a good point. It's a bailout trail, but it's not easy.
It's and it was rerouted. Like in 2000 in the 10s.
Mm-hmm.
And the reroute's harder than the original route.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Jeez. I've never seen the original route. I've only seen the reroute. So
it's hard.
It's no joke. If you break in Fordyce, it's a very long, arduous trip to get off of the trail.
Get yourself out.
Yeah.
Hopefully you brought a tow rig.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. And with that, I guess, keep crawling. Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah, Tyler.
I'm looking for a joke.
Oh, okay. I got one for you.
Sweet.
What do you call a fake noodle?
Dildo?
An impasta.
An impasta? That's a impostable.
Impasta.
That's impostable, Jimmy. It's impossible to call an impasta pasta. Don't look at me like that.
Tyler over here. He's what? 2 months into dad jokes.
I don't even get to tell dad jokes. He doesn't understand me yet.
Yeah, but you're a dad now.
I know.
So everything you say is now a dad joke.
I guess so. My dad jokes end up being raunchy, though.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have the raunchy ones for work.
Oh, I still tell them at home, and the secretary just rolls her eyes and walks away. Which I figure is the same response you get out of dad jokes too. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.